Before Buffalo police called him one of the most feared men on the east side, Donald Sly Green was standing inside the Jefferson Avenue optical shop with a gun in his hand at only 14 years old. The robbery was supposed to be fast. A group of teenagers looking for money, allegedly for clothes for an upcoming concert, walked into the J. White Optical Center at 1412 Jefferson Avenue. The store became a target after one of the juveniles had lost his nerve before a bank robbery, and the group was looking for another lick. But when Rebecca White, the 55-year-old shop owner's wife, tried to fight back, the kid they called Sly pulled a bar .38 caliber revolver from his waistband and shot. By the time it was over, Rebecca White was dead, and Buffalo had his first glimpse of a teen who a prosecutor would one day call one of the most vicious and violent people he had ever met. Described as a mild-mannered kid and the most well-behaved of his unruly brothers, Sly was a talented young hockey player who learned skating from a wealthy benefactor that his mother worked for as a maid. But somewhere between the hockey rink and the juvenile detention system, Donald Green changed. Or maybe the streets revealed what was already there. He grew up on Buffalo's east side in the 1970s, when the city was reeling from factory closures, people fleeing the city, and the new emergent heroin trade. His relatives and friends were immersed in the vices of the streets: gambling, prostitution, drugs, and guns. This was the rhythm of the east side.
I'll tell you what it is. If you want to know what it is, it's a jungle out here. You got to survive.
And by 1973, Sly Green was no longer just watching the streets, he was stepping in them. Locked up in juvenile facilities throughout most of his teens, crime had become a way of life for Sly. After serving only a year in state youth facility for White's murder, by 16, he was involved in a bank robbery and a holdup of a Kensington Avenue restaurant just 2 days after being freed on bail for the bank robbery charge. Later, at the 1976 armed robbery sentencing, Judge Armour called him a patently vicious 16-year-old with no regard for the law and no interest in anything except becoming a professional criminal. When Green was paroled in 1987 after serving time for armed robbery, the east side he returned to was in chaos.
But at this hour, Buffalo homicide detectives are investigating the shooting death of an East Side man, and it happened just a little more than an hour ago on Woodland Avenue.
The crack epidemic was in full swing, with dealers fighting over territory and gambling numbers operations flourished. And when Sly stepped back out, law enforcement believed he had become exactly what the judge warned about: a professional criminal trained from his time inside Auburn Correctional Facility. He assembled a gang called the LA Boys that functioned like a mini mafia, dealing in heroin and cocaine, kidnappings and murders. Between 1986 and 1988, a string of killings believed to be tied to the LA Boys shook Buffalo's east side. It began in March 1986, when Devotee Pompey, a 27-year-old numbers runner, was shot dead in the alley off Fillmore Avenue. Investigators believe that an east side gambling racket paid Sly's brother, Samuel Green, $5,000 to kill Pompey over a $20,000 debt. Pompey's death set off a chain reaction, leading to the murder of Samuel Green on October 9, 1986. As he sat in his car on Harvard Place, a masked gunman approached and shot him at point-blank range. It's believed Samuel was killed because he wanted more money for the Pompey murder, allegedly blackmailing the same people who had paid him. Then came 23-year-old Reuben Coble. Coble was in the front seat of Samuel's car moments before his murder, leading to speculation that he set up Samuel, having him drive to Harvard Place and leaving him to be ambushed. Although Coble denied setting him up, members of the Green family warned he better tell him what happened or he'd be dead. Ignoring the warning, less than 48 hours after Samuel's death, children playing near railroad tracks found Coble's body in a grassy field off East Delavan Avenue, about 200 yards behind S&S Auto Repair Shop. He was lying face down, shot once in the chest. Police believe the deaths of Pompey, Samuel Green, and Reuben Coble were connected to gambling, drugs, and revenge, where each killing called for retaliation. And then 2 years later, Sly Green's name would be tied to another murder, but this one would be the one that finally put him away. On October 25, 1988, a church custodian named James A. Wright steps out of his beat-up car on Cretna Street. In his arms is a bag of groceries he's delivering to a family from his church. As Wright walks towards the porch, a late model car idles down the street. Without warning, a man jumps from the passenger seat, firing shots at Larnell Cottrell, knocking him to the ground. As Cottrell lay between two parked cars, the shooter put 2 more shots at point-blank range into Cottrell, fatally wounding him. Witnessing what just happened, Wright froze, and for a second his eyes locked with the shooter that he recognized as Donald Sly Green. It's a moment that would change his life forever, turning him from an ordinary working man into a marked man, because once he identified Sly Green, the LA boy's war had reached his doorstep. After Wright identified Green, the intimidation began. In July 1989, Garland Kaiser, described as an alleged LA Boys member, came to the church where Wright worked and warned him not to testify, threatening drive-bys and even shooting one of his sons. Then the words became reality. Wright's car was set on fire in front of his house on Northampton Street, and an attempt was made to burn down his home, saved only by the Molotov cocktail not exploding. In early August, his family heard rapid gunfire, later finding bullet holes through 2 bedrooms. By mid-August, Wright was starting his car on Best Street when 2 men pulled up in another vehicle and fired shots. He played dead and the shooters drove away. After that, Wright lined metal chairs around his son's bed, hoping to stop any further shootings. He later testified wearing a bulletproof vest, surrounded by armed deputies with shotguns and automatic weapons. But the defense attacked his credibility. They claimed Wright had been drunk on the day of the Cottrell shooting and unable to identify the killer. Wright denied all accusations, saying he had only 2 beers that day, drinking more only after the shooting. It was up to the courtroom to decide what mattered more, the defense's doubt or the witness who survived firebombs, bullets, threats, and still came forward. And in November 1989, Green was convicted of murdering Lionel Cottrell, receiving 25 years to life in 1991 after a delayed sentencing. But prison didn't end Sly Green's story. It just changed the location of his office. By 1992, federal authorities said Donald Sly Green was still running the streets from inside Shower Gun Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison near Poughkeepsie. The indictment named Green and 25 others, including his estranged wife, former Buffalo teacher Judy Spidell Green. Authorities said Sly's prison phone calls were the key. The indictments listed 70 specific phone calls monitored between January and April 1992 of Green giving commands to allies in Buffalo about hits on former enforcer Darrell Reese Johnson after they had a disagreement. He was even given instructions about what dealers would be allowed to sell in certain neighborhoods and kidnappings of local dealers for ransom money. His wife was one of the most unexpected figures in the story. While she was teaching in city schools, she was also helping her husband's organization, arranging 3-way phone calls between her husband in prison and Colombian drug suppliers. One deal involved 55 pounds of cocaine, which profits intended to fund Green's appeal and attorney fees. By 1994, Green had his telephone access restricted after being accused of still calling shots for the LA Boys gang from prison. This led to Sly being convicted of 26 drug racketeering counts, leading to a sentence of 4 life prison terms plus 110 years.